I never thought a simple fence line would end with the HOA president being dragged out of her own board meeting in handcuffs screaming my name like I was the one who ruined her life. But before I tell you how she collapsed in front of 50 stunned neighbors or how a single piece of footage blew apart her entire empire, let me start with the morning I realized peace for me was going to be optional. I moved to Lake Ridge Estates because it looked quiet, almost too quiet, like the kind of place where people argued about hydrangeas versus azaleas, not war. I had just turned 40, burnt out after 2 decades working commercial construction. Real construction, the kind with cranes, safety harnesses, and people screaming across rebar. All I wanted was a backyard where I could drink coffee without someone asking me where the hell the blueprints were. I bought a small blue house at the end of Oak Trail Road. Big shade tree, wraparound porch, a driveway that sloped gently toward my workshop. Perfect. Peaceful. And for the first week it was exactly that. Birds, grass, sprinklers clicking at dawn. Then came Melissa Carter, mid-50s, tall blonde bob, so sharp it could slice fruit, sunglasses she absolutely wore indoors. And of course the clipboard. Always the clipboard. She was HOA president, self-appointed neighborhood guardian, and apparently a part-time tyrant. I didn't know any of that on day one. All I knew was that she showed up on my porch at 6:42 a.m., tapped on my door 3 times and said, "Hello, I'm here for your compliance review." I blinked. My what? She didn't laugh. She didn't smile. She didn't even breathe differently. Just started writing notes on her clipboard as if the universe had personally sent her to judge me. "You have unapproved tools visible from the street," she said. I looked over my shoulder at the 2 items near the porch, my garden hose and a broom. "That's a broom," I said. "It's still unapproved." That was my introduction to Melissa. You'd think that was the worst of it. Oh, no, that was warm-up stretching. The real trouble started when I rebuilt my fence. The original fence was rotting. Every time the wind blew, the boards tilted like drunk soldiers. So I sank new posts leveled, everything sealed it, stained it professional work. Melissa saw it, walked straight into my yard without asking, tapped one of the boards and said, "This color is unauthorized." "It's brown," I said. "Unauthorized brown," she replied. That night I found a violation notice taped to my garage door, then another on my mailbox. Then one slipped under my welcome mat like she thought she was part of the CIA. All 3 citations said the same thing. Non-compliant fence coloration. Immediate correction required. I thought it was funny, at first, but Melissa didn't like being ignored. 3 days later, the city inspector showed up. Anonymous complaint, he said, eyes apologetic. Reported unsafe construction. They said you built a fence without proper footing. I showed him the concrete footings. I showed him the permits. I even showed him the laser level I'd used. The man actually whistled and said, "Honestly, this is nicer than half the stuff I inspect." He left. I laughed. Melissa watched from across the street, arms crossed, sunglasses glinting like she was absorbing solar power to fuel her next attack. The next week things escalated. Noise complaint, grass complaint, suspicious activity complaint because I carried 2x4s from my truck to the workshop. Apparently lumber is threatening now. Each time it was Melissa. Each time she stood nearby, pretending she just happened to be outside watering her roses or measuring the curb with a tape measure that absolutely did not need to be 3 meters long. But the moment I realized this woman was not normal came on a Thursday morning. I was kneeling next to my driveway adjusting one of the new solar path lights when I heard Melissa's voice behind me. "That fixture is too bright. You're violating nighttime lighting regulations." "It's 9 a.m., I said. "That's irrelevant," she replied. I swear for a second I wondered if she was a robot disguised as a suburban woman. But the turning point, the moment everything in my chest cracked, came 2 weeks later when she targeted my dog. Charlie is a gentle old golden retriever who barely has the energy to bark. One afternoon I let him out in the yard. 10 minutes later, animal control knocked on my door. "We received a report of an aggressive animal," the officer said. I looked down. Charlie was lying at my feet asleep. "Is this him?" the officer asked. Charlie snored. The officer sighed, apologized, and left. But something in me snapped right there. Because she wasn't just attacking me anymore, she was poking at anything she could reach. And I started doubting myself. Was I overreacting? Was she just strict? Was I making it worse? Was it somehow my fault? For 2 days I barely slept. I paced the house, checked the window every time a car slowed down, and for the first time since moving in, I regretted buying that damn blue house. The peace I wanted so badly felt like it had evaporated. Then something happened that flipped everything. Saturday morning, clear sky. I stepped outside with a coffee and noticed a red folder wedged under my doormat. HOA documents. Except on top was a draft of a proposal written by Melissa planning to correct the boundary irregularity between my property and the common area. Boundary irregularity. I checked the map. The irregularity Melissa wanted to correct was my backyard. She wanted to redraw the property lines and claim 12 feet of my land as community space. I felt my heartbeat slow. My chest tightened. The anger wasn't hot, it was cold, calculated. Everything made sense. She wasn't harassing me because she cared about fences or lawn brightness. She wanted the land. She wanted a precedent. And I was the only house on the block with a yard deep enough for the walking path expansion she'd been proposing in HOA newsletters. She needed a reason to force compliance. She needed me to look like a threat. She needed me out of the way. And suddenly I wasn't tired anymore. I wasn't doubting myself. I wasn't backing down. I turned on every camera I had front back, even a small trail cam I strapped to the fence post. And thank God I did, because 3 nights later at 1:17 a.m., I caught Melissa stepping into my yard with a flashlight and a tape measure. She thought she was sneaky. She really did. She tiptoed like a cartoon burglar, taped off 12 feet of my yard, scribbled notes into her clipboard, and tried to sneak back out. But she didn't see the trail cam. The footage showed her hopping my fence like a teenager sneaking out past curfew, sunglasses on, at night. Of course. I downloaded the footage, labeled it, backed it up 3 times, and then the real storm hit. On Tuesday morning, a contractor truck showed up. Guy hops out with a tool belt and a clipboard. "Hey, HOA ordered expansion prep for the new path," he said. "Said we're clearing some ground behind your fence line." I laughed. The guy looked confused. Then he saw my expression. Then he backed up. I asked for the work order. Guess who signed it? Melissa Carter, HOA president. Also serial trespasser. Also lunatic. The contractor apologized profusely. He called his supervisor. Work order canceled. Melissa, however, was waiting like a villain in a cheap movie, standing across the street pretending to prune her roses. She yelled, "You're obstructing community development." I yelled back, "You're trespassing, falsifying documents, and potentially insane." Neighbors peeked through blinds. One guy literally dropped his cereal bowl. Things were officially out of hand. I sent the footage to the city, to the police, and to the HOA board, quietly, with no warning. And for a few days, Melissa disappeared. No morning knocks, no violations, no comments shouted across the street. I thought it was done. I thought she'd backed off. I was wrong. Oh God, I was so wrong. Friday night around 11 p.m., my cameras pinged again. 2 figures hopped the back fence, hoodies, gloves, moving fast. They didn't see the infrared light. They didn't see the trail cam, but I saw everything. One of them carried a canister. The other carried a shovel. They started digging in the corner of my yard, whispering frantic. I zoomed in. The canister label read, "Solvent cleaner, flammable." They were planting it. They were going to discover it later and blame me for storing hazardous chemicals. My hands shook, not from fear, from fury. I stepped outside, quietly circled around my workshop, and hit the floodlights. Both men froze like raccoons caught in headlights. One yelled, one dropped the canister. They scrambled over the fence faster than they came in, and one of them left his glove behind. The next morning, when the police looked at the footage, they recognized the shorter guy immediately. He was Melissa's nephew Kyle, who did landscaping for the HOA. The officer looked at me and said, "You understand, this is attempted evidence planting." I nodded, and that was it. That was the moment the machine finally started turning on my side. They brought Kyle in. He cracked in 20 minutes, told them everything, told them Melissa planned it, told them she forged signatures, told them the path expansion had been denied twice by the city, but she was trying anyway. And then my favorite part, he told them Melissa instructed him to make sure I became a problem homeowner so she could file for forced compliance. When the police knocked on her door the next day, Melissa stepped out looking offended that the universe had dared inconvenience her. She tried arguing. She tried scolding. She tried lecturing the officers. She even tried saying, "You can't arrest me. I'm the HOA president." But they absolutely could, and they did. And I watched from my porch as she was walked down her driveway while half the neighborhood stared. She whipped her head toward me, furious, betrayed, screaming, "This is your fault." But I didn't say a word, didn't smirk, didn't taunt, didn't move. I just sipped my coffee. They put her in the patrol car. Neighbors whispered. Kids pulled out phones. Kyle stood on the sidewalk crying. And just like that, Melissa's kingdom fell apart. The HOA board called an emergency meeting 2 hours later. People crowded into the clubhouse. Voices rose. Papers waved. I stood in the back leaning against the wall, arms folded. In the middle of the chaos, the vice president shouted, "Melissa has been removed, effective immediately." And then everything went silent, because behind him, 2 officers walked in carrying a stack of documents. Fraudulent filings, fake violations, the trespassing footage, and Kyle's full confession. Someone gasped. Someone whispered, "Unbelievable." Someone else muttered, "About time." And then, as if the universe needed dramatic timing, Melissa, handcuffed, was led through the clubhouse so she could pick up her personal belongings from the office. She saw the crowd. She saw me. She screamed, "He set me up. He sabotaged me." But everyone ignored her. The officers tugged her forward. Her sunglasses fell off. No one picked them up. That's when I finally felt it, the peace I'd been searching for since the day I moved in. Not happiness, not triumph, just peace. The kind that settles in your chest after months of noise. The kind born from surviving someone who should never have had authority in the first place. They pulled Melissa out the side door. The meeting ended. People went home. I stepped outside and let the cool evening air hit my face. And that's where I'll end this story. On the moment the monster finally fell, the clipboard queen dethroned the neighborhood, learning that sometimes the quietest house on the block is the one you really shouldn't mess with. Because power doesn't make a bully dangerous. It's what they think they can get away with. And bullies never expect the quiet guy to fight back.